Morning, good afternoon, good evening. The situation in South Africa, the xenophobia attacks on Black Africans, is getting hotter and hotter. The deadline for all undocumented foreigners is the 30th of June. One dreads to think what will happen thereafter. But there is no doubt that the harassment of Black Africans in South Africa has been disappointing, to say the least. Tonight, we'd like to discuss what the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Zimbabweans who are in South Africa, what would they be thinking right now? What would they want the nation to do? And those who just returned to Zimbabwe under this increasing pressure, threat of violence, what is their reaction? Are they pleased to be back in Zimbabwe? Are they disappointed to be back in Zimbabwe? And to explore that, we have tonight Ben, who's going to give us his opinion on those issues. Welcome to the program, Ben.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. Now, the migration issue in South Africa is one that is a slippery slope because, there's many reasons. We know, from the statistics that we have been given, in the past years, that there is over 3 million Zimbabweans in South Africa. And most of these are undocumented. These are individuals that are doing the small little jobs that really nobody wants to do because of poverty. They would use what we call something, no matter how small it is, it's better than nothing. And they are willing to take those jobs, be it working in the farms, in the outskirts, washing clothes, the jobs that really nobody wants. That is what the Zimbabweans are settling for, because in their own country, or in our own country, there is no those small little jobs. We know unemployment in Zimbabwe is over 90%, if not above. Graduates don't have anything to do, and most people are not graduated. That's just bleak. So the chances of you landing a job is very, very, very difficult. What would they want, Zimbabwe to do for them upon their return? I mean, look, we have to be honest. Zimbabwe is not faring very good. Zimbabwe is in its valleys, in the darkest of darkest times. So if I'm to say what could they do for them, I mean, she really can't help herself. I cannot expect Zimbabwe to help those that are actually coming. Those that are within Zimbabwe are struggling. We are planning to help those that are coming back. I don't see it happening. Sorry.
Well, the truth of the matter is, when you get headlines like this, migration is human nature, I think it misses the point completely. The millions of Zimbabweans who have, in the last 25 years, left the country, many of them have gone to South Africa, others to other countries in the region, and many more beyond, have not left out of just migration is human nature. They are economic and political refugees. And I think if I was one of the millions of Zimbabweans out there in South Africa, or who is just recently returned, I'll be disappointed that anyone in Zimbabwe should fail to comprehend the real problem in Zimbabwe. The problem that has forced millions to leave the country is not just human nature. It is fueled by decades of gross mismanagement and rampant corruption that has destroyed the nation's economy to where we are today. In 1980, when the country gained its independence, Zimbabwe had a robust economy. Many of our people were employed, gainfully employed. We had industries, and we were a prosperous nation. Our agriculture was producing enough not only to feed ourselves, but to feed millions of others in the region. We were the breadbasket of the region. But since ZANU-PF introduced its land seizures in 2000, within 10 years, Zimbabwe's economy, its agriculture collapsed. And since it was the main engine of Zimbabwe's economy, the economy itself followed suit. We cannot pretend that there's nothing wrong with Zimbabwe. There is everything wrong with Zimbabwe. And we have to address that problem and not pretend to hide behind figures like, arguments like migration is human nature. In the case of Zimbabwe, it has been one way. Millions of Zimbabweans have left the country because of the economic and political crisis. That is a reality. And I think we need to acknowledge the problem. And if I was a returning Zimbabwean, I'll be disappointed that the country should still want to pretend we don't have a problem. We have a problem. Let's at least acknowledge the problem and hopefully start seriously thinking about solution.
When you look at Zimbabwe migration, I get the figures, that were published sometime last year or the previous year, where they say, remittance to Zimbabwe through diasporans. This includes those that are legal and illegal in South Africa and all around the globe amounts to over, $2 billion annually. And that's a big figure. And, these people in South Africa were not only looking after themselves, but, they were looking after some of the folk back home. And now we are going to be taking away that help that they were bringing to their kin. It's very bleak. We are going to see that not only them are they going to suffer, but some of the people that are already there in Zimbabwe that were benefiting from these illegal, immigrants. It's going to open a new chapter and a new way of life that they weren't accustomed to, because we've just taken out that fact that you were able to provide. And we are looking at a system in Zimbabwe where the health sector, just to go into a hospital and get not far-fetched treatment, where we are saying cancer or just paracetamol, is nowhere to be seen in the hospitals. We're not talking about the availability of ambulances. That is far too fetched for Zimbabwean health system. Paracetamol, bandages, gloves. There's no way you can find that. You have to get your own. So people that could have afforded, or people that could have had help outside the country, can no longer access that help. They are going into a health system that is already collapsed, and we are adding more people on top of that. I mean, it's just bleak. You're looking at even schools. Just recently, Zambia introduced free healthcare for its entire nation. In Zimbabwe, you have to pay, and you have to pay in US dollars, not in the local currency, in US dollars. Where is those monies going to come from when people are no longer working, and when, the 3 million come back home? And these 3 million, they got family back in Zimbabwe. So it's the question of what is Zimbabwe going to do for these people? I think it's just one of those where we are trying by all means to see if there is a possibility where there is really no chance. You look at, again, the gap between the rich and the poor. Most Zimbabweans are living under $1 a day. Yet there are others out there that are giving free cars a day to friends and family, where some people cannot afford to even have or to dream of a wedding. But some people can donate amongst each other $200 million in cash at a wedding, where the civil servants are getting $300 as a salary. And with that $300, they have to queue up to get that money out of the bank. And yet somebody can go out there and get 150 million or 20 million and come out with it in brand new notes. So you have a system that is broken, that has rampant corruption. And now we are asking ourselves, what could this system do for the people that are returning? I mean, absolutely nothing. That is the answer to the question. Whoever is coming back surely has to have their own plan. Because with this current regime, it's always been dog eat dog, survival of the fittest. There is no plan for any one of us. Those that were in there were suffering. Those that are coming back will surely join those that were in there in the suffering. And I think this is Zimbabwe for us. That's how best we can summarize it.
I think one of the great disappointments for Zimbabweans coming back is that they will find the nation that is, at the present moment, completely preoccupied with this constitutional amendment bill number 3. If they had not been following what this constitutional bill was about, they will still learn that its primary purpose is really to allow Mnangagwa to extend his stay in office beyond the stipulated 10-year limit stipulated by the Constitution. They will also learn that this issue has been on the national agenda for the last 3 years. In other words, instead of the country focusing on reviving the country's economy that has forced millions to leave the country, the government has been preoccupied with how to consolidate Mnangagwa's stay in office beyond what the Constitution stipulated. The argument that Mnangagwa is going to deliver economic prosperity, deliver Vision 2030, is a nonsense. Any one of those Zimbabweans, returnees, or who are in South Africa would know that is nonsense. They know that Zimbabwe's economy, the root cause of the collapse was the corruption. They also know that corruption under Mnangagwa has gone into overdrive. Ben Bay was referring to millions of dollars being wasted on cars and other luxuries when it should be spent on investment to revive the country's agriculture, collapsed industry, and so forth, create opportunities to create more wealth. That is the reality these people are coming back to. And I feel for them. I genuinely feel sorry for them. Because even though many have been told that you need documents to be in South Africa, the very fact that you are a foreigner in South Africa today is cause for worry. Because after the 30th of June deadline, the vigilantes will start hunting the Zimbabweans, Malawians, anyone who is foreign. These vigilantes are not interested in whether or not you've got the right documents. Some of them are interested in taking over whatever business the foreigners have. That is all they care about. Indeed, many of the Zimbabweans who have decided to leave, many of them have the right documentation, but they also know that those vigilantes are not interested. So to come back to a nation whose economic meltdown has continued, it is tragic. Mnangagwa is not going to deliver Vision 2030. The economy is in total meltdown. We are not going to offer anything of substance to all those Zimbabweans who are being forced to return back to Zimbabwe today. That is the reality those people have got to accept. And it is a reality that is heartbreaking to any Zimbabwean who appreciate what is going on here and who appreciate the tragedy of our situation. Many will be forced to return back to South Africa because there will be nothing for them in Zimbabwe. And we cannot hide from the fact that we as a nation collectively we have let ourselves down badly. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. Thank you very much. Have a good night.